happy Monday. If you're new here, my name's Marisa. If you're returning, welcome back. Okay, so sometimes you just have to encourage yourself. You just have to encourage yourself. I want to talk about this today because, um, okay, so I haven't really been on here. I told you guys the warfare has been intense. If you're new here, I've been up in New York City and Brooklyn, living in my car for like last, I don't even know, like 5 months, something like that. It's been a long winter. How about that? And so part of going through this whole winter trial, a lot of it was staying alive and a lot of it was hunkering down and staying warm and trying to get through the winter in my car because it was freezing and I could see my breath every day and it was kind of hard. I thought it was kind of hard. I mean, I'm like I don't, and then so when you get kind of used to just survival mode, trying to eat every day, trying to like put gas in your car, trying to pay your car insurance, like you're all of a sudden you're like just trying to get through the trial, until God opens the door or does whatever, whatever needs to happen until your breakthrough. You the length of the trial will wear you down, and you start off full of faith, right? And then over time there's stages to a trial. I talk about this all the time. Like the length of the trial and the battle of survival can like wear your little mind and your spirit out. And so one of the phases of a trial is when the length of the trial has lasted a certain amount of time. That's when all the people who have faithfully supported you and encouraged you start to fall off because they're like, this girl is crazy, and this is taking too long, and so they kind of start falling away, and you kind of notice that the phone calls are fewer, the all this stuff. It just you feel kind of more and more isolated, more and more alone in your situation. And so I told you guys, like, around Passover every year I go through some intense warfare, and so I kind of felt it breaking off the past couple of days, and finally it's been for the past like month or so, it's been really intense, and just spiritual warfare. And so, hey guys, if you guys want to leave a chat or anything, just drop it in. But so okay, so the past couple of days it's kind of been breaking off, but it was because I had to go encourage myself. And so I love telling testimonies. I tell testimonies all the time, and I'm so grateful that I do, because looking back, like, God does so many miracles in my life, and if I don't keep track of these, like, there's so many I would forget because he does so much. But when you're in a trial, a heated trial, we all go through trials, but some are just harder than others. You can get to that place in a trial where you're like, God hates me, like he doesn't even love me. Like, what I mean? You start forgetting all the goodness that he's ever done for you. And so I'm so grateful that I always keep track of those things, because then what I did was, a few days ago, I just started going back. When I walked across California for 98 days, I vlogged every day, or almost every day. So I had like 100 vlogs in 100 days going across California. And so and I hated watching those things because at first, like, I haven't been able to watch them until recently, because I was trying to watch them to write my book, but it was like almost embarrassing for me, because every time I would watch one prior to this week, I would get embarrassed at my old self, because I'm like, girl, quit complaining. You got 50 more days. Quit complaining. Just soldier up. Keep going, keep going. You got a long way to go. It's gonna get so much worse. And so I was almost embarrassed for her, watching my old self. But not this time. This time I'm in this trial, and this new trial, which surviving the winter in the car, that was hard. I'm not going to say it wasn't hard, but when I went back and watched what I went through in California, I was like, oh, this trial is nothing. Like, why are you even complaining? Like, so but what was amazing was I got so much encouragement from watching my old self, and then almost like sadness too, because I'm like, man, that girl is fierce. Like, she believed God. Like, that girl was standing on business. What happened to her? you know and and I've seen all the growth I've had in myself too, but there was something that girl had that I don't even know if I have anymore. And I was starting to like question like what happened to me. And but I was very proud of myself because you know, you don't really remember all this stuff until you go back, and I have to be reminded with those visual like, so when I watch one of those vlogs, I don't just see the vlog. I remember what happened that day. I remember that night freezing cold, and you know what I mean. I remember the sleep deprivation and the hunger and the thirst and the criticism from all these people who wouldn't support me, but they would make all these comments and tear me to pieces, and had their full opinions, and they've never stepped out in real faith, you know. And yet they were full of opinions on what I should do, or what, you know, what God would do. And so I remember all this battle that I was going through, which was so much more severe than this right here. This, to me, this is like, if I added up the past 5 months in New York and combined all the troubles I've been through, wouldn't even compare to like a 1 week in California, right? It's not even comparable in the aspect of suffering, right? Because that was real suffering. Um, but this is a different kind of battle that you know, I wouldn't say this whole time has even been a battle, because a lot of it has been just really good time with the Lord. Um, and so, but there has been suffering. I mean, every trial is trially at some point, you know. But but when I went back and I had to watch my old self to encourage this self to like, girl, get a hold of yourself, like, look what you've overcome, you know. And to see the faith in those old vlogs that I had, and I'm like, oh yeah, I believed God. And then it hit me why I feel like so much more despondent in this trial than I ever did in that one, because that one I was full of faith to the bitter end. You couldn't have pried my faith from my cold, dead fingers. Like, I was holding on for dear life. But what happened was, and why this trial feels harder than that one, even like emotionally harder, not physically, or not on a endurance suffering level, but on an emotional level, this feels harder. But I kind of understood why today, because I was like thinking to myself, you know, like because I had so much faith then, and when I got to Pastor Phil's, it was just nothing but disappointment. Or it wasn't disappointment, well, kind of disappointment, but it was a lot harder of a trial. Like, so I went from one trial to another type of trial, and it wasn't really the blessing or the promised land that I thought. Like, everyone hated me, and like it was just like, it was all I could do to get out of California. You know, it was like no one liked me in California, and so all the expectation I had was dashed into pieces, like dashed into pieces. And so for the whole year afterwards, like, I mean, I was battling anxiety, I was battling all this stuff of like, I was battling my faith is what it was, for the first time in my life. Like, because I believe God. Like, let me tell you, like I'm full of faith. And I think my faith was my one saving virtue of like, I don't care what happens in this world, I believe God, you know. And but yet this year, and even in this trial, my faith is the one that is suffered the most, because it's like, do I believe God anymore? Am I expecting anything good to happen? Like, look at all the times, like, you know what I mean? I had to like, so I don't want to cry, but like, there was a lot of disappointment. And so and then you know, with Resurrection Sunday, and then I'm reminded of the disciples, and how he had gone through the same thing, right? They had all this excitement with Jesus, you know, and following him and getting sent out, and they had power and signs and wonders, and you know, they're making their mistakes and they're going out and they're doing it, but they had Jesus with them, right? And then he dies. They weren't expecting their Messiah to die. They were expecting him to take over the world and conquer Rome, and bring in the lost tribes of the house of Israel right then. That was their timetable. That was their expectation. That was what they didn't know, because you have to understand, in the Bible there's prophecies of Jesus's first coming, like maybe 300 prophecies, I believe, of his first coming, or 200 and something, I don't know. But there's like 800 prophecies of his second coming. And and the thing about prophecy is, if you read about, you're prophesying the Messiah, you don't know that he's coming twice. You only think at that time that he's coming once, right? So your expectation of what he will do when he shows up is this grand thing where he's going to conquer the world, and he's going to, make paradise on earth, and all this stuff, right? So when he is crucified and he dies, they are devastated. And so they're just like, they give up. They go back to fishing. They're just like, oh well, like it's all over. Everything we hope for is dead, right? And then he rises again, and he's on the beach, right? And they're in the boat fishing, and he's like, hey, cast your net on the other side. And then they're like, wait, what? And it's just a spark of hope, right? The spark of hope of like, wait, I know that voice. Wait, who is this man? Like, and they bring up all the fish, and it's like breaking their nets, and they're like, oh, it's Jesus. You know what I mean? It's like they come back, they get resurrected too. They're resurrected too. Their faith is resurrected too. And that's kind of what I'm like, I need that resurrection faith right now, because if there's one thing about me, like, you can say whatever you want about me, but you can't deny my faith. You can't deny that I don't walk by faith. You can't accuse me of not walking by faith. Oh, I believe God. Like, I just do, even in my worst moments, like, where I just want to give up so bad. It's like nothing in me will allow that. Nothing in me will allow that. I've seen too many miracles. And so when I was watching these videos, I don't know, it was like something inside of me just came alive again. And it was my old self encouraging this self of like, girl, remember who you are. Get yourself together. You know what I mean? Like, if she wasn't speaking to nobody else, if nobody else got anything out of what I went through, I did. And I do. And so I encourage you, keep track of every single thing that God does for you, because I'm telling you, one day, it might not matter today, but there might be a day in 5 years, in 10 years, that you might have to just go back and like remember all the things that God has done for you. And it's in recalling the testimony of his goodness, his faithfulness. He's never let us go. He's been with us even in the muck, even in the harshest, cold, dark nights of the soul, even in those moments where everyone else left us, he never did. And it's like, you have to remember that. You have to remember who you are. You have to remember who he is, and that he is the God of the resurrection. Like, you have to remember that. And so, like, all the stuff, all the disappointment, all the stuff, it's like, okay, that is breaking right off of me, because like it was just like a second wind of like remembering, oh yeah, God is faithful. What am I talking about? What am I worried about? You know what I mean? And in those dark nights of the soul, that heavy spiritual warfare, I mean, the enemy is throwing all out assault in your dreams, in your memories, in your just like voices of doubt, and all that stuff that hammers you when you're in your weakest point, right? You gotta remember God. You gotta remember his faithfulness. You gotta remember how consistent he is. You gotta remember how faithful he's been, and that if he said it, he is not a man that he should lie. Like, I'm telling you what, right now, woo, I just thank God I made all those embarrassing vlogs. Like, I'm so grateful for that stupid girl that was willing to look so stupid, because I needed her today. You know what I mean? And so now I'm not going to look at those videos anymore in like shame, or because I used to be embarrassed by them, but now I'm like, man, I'm so grateful for her. You know what I mean? That girl didn't know how to quit. And I want to remember who she is, because she's somewhere in there. I've suppressed her a little bit, but she's there. She's got to come back to life too, you know? And that's what this is all about. This whole, God is the God of resurrection. He is not going to fail you now. Like, he does not bring you to the point of delivery and not give birth. I'm telling you, God is faithful. And so if that's why I'm always telling people, tell as many testimonies as you can. Like, keep copious records. Like, keep records of all the things that God has done for you, because it's going to come in handy one day. That's why I love Psalm 106, 107, because the psalm is recounting God and the children of Israel and every single thing he did for them, and it's like telling the whole story. And it's like, you have to remind yourself of all the times, all the things, all the ways that he was so present for you, that he was so committed to you, that he never let you go hungry, he never let you die, he never He might let you suffer a little bit, but then he's like, but did you die? No. Soldier up, and like, keep going. And so we have to remember how faithful he is. And I love 106 and 107 too, because it's like, and he will come through for you for his own reputation, for his own namesake, not for any other reason, but for who he is, because he can swear on no other higher than himself. He will come through for you. And so I hope I encourage somebody today. It's a new day. The warfare has passed. The night has ended. Let's go see let's believe God for something, God is good. He is gracious, and he will not fail you. I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.